Hey guys, this is Phil, and in today's video, we're going to be going over our top 5 airsoft mistakes that we commonly see on the airsoft field. Now, we haven't listed them in any particular order, but they can happen to any player, regardless of how many years they've been playing. It's important to be able to recognize these mistakes and to know what to do to prevent them from happening to you. So let's get to it. Our first mistake is not moving around enough on the battlefield. Players in cover may be reluctant to move out of cover due to the risk of getting hit. This is often called camping or bunker noobing, but it's more than just a rookie mistake. More advanced players may justify it by saying that their gun has excellent range and they don't need to move, or that they're being effective right from where they are. First off, many airsofters tend to overestimate the effective range of their guns. We often see players with stock airsoft guns thinking they can reliably engage targets over 150 feet away. Even if that were true, moving up 1 or 2 pieces of cover will dramatically increase your ability to effectively engage targets and will make you much more useful to your team. Additionally, the longer you stay behind the same piece of cover without moving, the less useful it becomes. The reality is that the battlefield situation is always changing, and if you're not moving around to get better angles or to provide better cover fire for your teammates, then you will quickly become useless. Not to mention the fact that the enemy team will always know where you are and will be able to take steps in order to defeat you. If you need convincing of this, check out some videos of successful airsoft teams and see how often they actually stay in the same spot for extended periods without moving. That being said, rushing down the field willy-nilly without a plan is unlikely to help you either. Your movement should be well thought out and executed. Make short, consistent bounds down the field. Pick the next closest piece of cover, move there, and reassess. Whenever possible, you should coordinate your movement with your teammates to make sure that you're moving under protection or cover fire. Be smart about your moves and communicate as much as possible with your team. Our next mistake is buying cheap IPro. Now we know IPro is not as cool as a shiny new AEG or a great set of BDUs, but the fact remains that buying cheap IPro is a huge mistake for a few reasons. Obviously, cheap IPro could actually fail at protecting your eye. The IPro could get damaged and force you to replace it on the field or go home if you don't have a replacement, or at worst, it could actually let a BB in. Mesh goggles are even worse, in that they can actually cause a BB to fragment, sending shards of plastic into your eye. Real IPro, made for professionals who rely on good visibility in order to do their job, typically has excellent fogging control. Some models are double paned, some of them have a built-in fan, and others still even open at the sides to promote good airflow. If you wear corrective lenses, some models of real IPro allow you to get a prescription insert for them. Finally, real IPro tends to be much more durable and has to be replaced less frequently. So although the upfront cost might be more expensive, you'll likely spend less money on them over time. Your eyes are easily the most vulnerable part of your body while playing airsoft, and it's worth every dollar you spend to keep them safe. Our third mistake is putting the wrong optic on your airsoft gun. We see this so often, and we've talked about it before, but putting a magnified optic on a stock or near stock airsoft gun is a mistake, plain and simple. Not only is it a waste of money, but it's actually making you less effective on the battlefield. Your gun does not have the range to make use of all that magnification. All you're doing is narrowing your field of vision and slowing your reaction time. Now, I get it. Seeing a magnified optic on a sniper rifle makes sense. That's what's generally supposed to go there. But why would you put an optic on an airsoft gun if it's not actually going to help you on the battlefield? Most airsoft guns are better served using a red dot sight, especially stock airsoft guns. Once you start upgrading your gun and you can reliably engage targets at over 150 feet away, then you might consider using a magnified optic. But until that time, you should stick to using a red dot sight. If you do decide to use a magnifier, you should consider how much magnification you really need. For example, a 10 times magnifier is typically used to engage targets over 1,500 feet away. So do you really need that much magnification? Lower power optics tend to be lighter, cheaper, and provide a better overall view of the battlefield. So generally speaking, you'll find that a 4 times magnifier is more than enough for airsoft applications. Our next mistake is not using cover properly. We recently did a video about how to use cover effectively because it's one of the most frequent mistakes that we see. When players take cover, they go flat up against it, either burying their face in it or putting their back flat against a piece of cover, ready to spin around and shoot their gun. Now, we see this in TV and movies all the time, but it doesn't really work in Airsoft. Don't flatten your back or push your shoulder into the piece of cover you're hiding behind. All you're doing is limiting your field of vision and hampering your ability to return fire or move. Instead, face the piece of cover you're behind, about an arm's length away, and keep your gun up. When you poke out of cover, poke out with your gun and your head, not just your head, at the same time, so that if you see a threat, you can engage it right away. This will allow you to maintain good situational awareness and to mount an effective response to a change in the battlefield situation, either by engaging a target or moving. Finally, and probably the biggest mistake overall, is not communicating. We see this frequently amongst beginners and veteran players alike. It doesn't matter if you're rolling with an experienced team or going solo at a random skirmish. You should always be passing along relevant information to your team as it comes up. Airsoft is a team-based game, and for the team to be successful, all players need to work together. Some typical examples of failure to communicate include players who move to another piece of cover without telling anyone, players who see an enemy move to another piece of cover and don't tell the rest of the team, players who shoot at an enemy and don't shout out their position, or players who got hit and nobody knew they were even under fire. All of those examples are of critical information that your team needs to know in order to make good battlefield decisions. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to be screaming at the top of your lungs or sensationalizing what's going on. Communication needs to be clear, concise, and useful to your team. For example, shouting, "They've got me pinned" at the top of your lungs is not going to give your team any information that they need in order to be able to help you. Who is they? How many are there? Where are they shooting from? And so on. This is the kind of information that you need to pass along to your team to enable them to make a good decision and help you out. So that's it for our top 5 biggest Airsoft mistakes. Not moving enough, buying cheap IPro, not using the right optics, not using cover correctly, and not communicating. There's obviously a lot of different mistakes that players should be watching out for, but hopefully by keeping these 5 in mind, you'll be able to be more effective on the Airsoft battlefield. We hope you found this video useful. If you like what you see, make sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching.